Hello, everyone. My name is Taylor Sargent, and I'm doing this presentation for the Legal Environment of Business class, and presenting to my classmates, my teacher. And the case that I'm presenting on is Liebig versus McDonald's Corporation, and it's also known as the hot coffee case. Let's get into it. So, why does this case matter? So, this was a major case in tort law, and what tort law is it's a type of it's a civil lawsuit. It's not a criminal, it's a civil one. And it's when there's harm caused to another person. And in this specific case, this tort law was about negligence. It was filed over negligence. And this case was very meaningful because it caused debates over product liability for many companies. And those kind of debates range from how liable should companies be about their products. Should they have complete liability over all products made? To what extent? And then another reason this case was important is that throughout this case, the media was heavily misrepresenting the case, and it kind of showcased after how biased the media can be and inaccurate it is. Because throughout this case, at least, the media kind of was blaming Miss Liebeck and kind of saying how this was just a frivolous lawsuit and that there wasn't any meaning. She's just trying to get money and this wasn't a meaningful lawsuit and that she was greedy or whatnot. But they heavily misrepresented her because she was actually injured. And this case also forced many businesses to change. They saw, oh shoot, McDonald's is kind of getting screwed over. They're owing a lot of money here, and so maybe we have to start caring more about customers because we're going to get sued quite easily. And as I mentioned earlier, with the media, it was argued that it was a frivolous lawsuit across quite a few different people at the time. And so legal concepts in this is a type of tort, which I mentioned earlier. It's a civil wrong that can cause harm to someone. And the reason this was filed was due to negligence. And it's when a company fails at preventing damage or harm to somebody. And it's not just they don't fail at preventing it, but they also fail at like there's signs and they didn't try to fix it or change. It also involves product liability, which we mentioned, and that's when a company needs to be held liable for faulty products or dangerous products. And in this case, McDonald's was found as negligent because they weren't careful with their product and for other reasons and facts, past occurrences that we'll get into and then throughout the presentation. And so this is the complaint and the parties involved. So the plaintiff is Stella Liebeck, as shown there. She's an older woman, 79 years old, and she's from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And after spilling the McDonald's coffee on her lap, she suffered third-degree burns. She needed multiple skin grafts. And she asked for $20,000. It wasn't even just for her expense, it was to solely just cover the medical bills. And the defendant, McDonald's, so the issue was what they did is they served coffee at 190 degrees Fahrenheit, which is actually extremely hot. And at the time, I'm not sure anymore if some machines might go hotter today, but at the time, the average was around 125 degrees Fahrenheit for like a home coffee maker. So this was obviously way, way, way above what it should have been. And the whole reason this went on is because they only offered Liebeck $800. I think honestly, if they didn't offer her that much, or if they offered her what she wanted, then McDonald's probably could have kept getting away with this, in my opinion. But the main reason this went down is because they only offered her 800 for her medical expenses, which was not enough. And the complaint was that McDonald's was negligent about their coffee, and they had it at a too high temperature, didn't do anything about it, and they never lowered it for customers. And that's like the what was everyone was involved, the parties, the complaint. And next, the actual incident, which is the coffee spill. So this is exactly how it happened. So on February 27th, 1992, Miss Liebeck, she ordered the McDonald's coffee. Someone else was driving her. She was a passenger. And while the car was parked, she tried putting in her creamer and I believe sugar as well into her coffee. And as she was doing it, she accidentally spilled some on herself. But even just that little spill caused 16% of her body to have third-degree burns. So it's very serious burns. It's really, really way too hot to be doing that kind of stuff. And she was hospitalized for 8 days with many skin grafts. And she was even left with permanent scarring, it was mentioned afterwards. And is shown later to be McDonald's fault. And of course, the main issue being was 190 degrees Fahrenheit, which is ridiculously high and much higher than we mentioned homebrew coffee. And at that temperature, third-degree burns just happen within seconds. So these are the legal facts as to why McDonald's was actually considered negligent, which is why they lost. And so, first of all, of course, mentioned multiple times, it was at 190 degrees Fahrenheit. And one of the biggest reasons, though, here is that they had a pass of 700 reported burn accidents before Miss Liebeck. That means 700 people endured something very similar to her and received damages like that. And the fact that it went on from 700 is quite amazing, but that's the biggest reason why they got sued, because 700 people were harmed and they never changed once. That is the most extreme example of negligence. That's textbook definition of negligence right there. That's the guarantee you the main reason why they lost this case. And yeah, all those people have been, mo many of those people were hospitalized. Obviously, negligence right there. That's why they lost that case. There's a ton of other factors though that just contributed to the to their quality control expert admitted their coffee wasn't fit for consumption beforehand, before these cases came out. And they, regardless of all these incidents, never changed policy. Negligent right there. And yeah, just their ignorance was that they knew the issues, didn't change. 700 is extreme amount. That is the most negligent you could possibly get. And multiple people were harmed. And the jury obviously saw it as just being reckless, and it was reckless corporate behavior to be specific. And so ultimately, the verdict, Liebeck, the money, honestly, when I was reading, it bounced around a ton. And she was originally awarded $200,000, but because she technically spilled it on herself, which is kind of ridiculous. But since she did spill it on herself, she's partially at fault, 20% to be exact. So she got 160,000. She was also awarded 2.7 million in punitive damages, which she did not actually take home that much. It was lowered to 480,000. I'm not sure why. It's just what happened. And then even after that, excuse me, McDonald's settled for an undisclosed amount. And so the overall impact of the case was very great. It's one of the first at the time for product liability and negligence. And because of the case, McDonald's itself, they had to lower the temperature of their coffee. They added warning labels. They changed everything about their coffee. And in this case, showcased just how bad punitive damages can be that for any company that acts recklessly like McDonald's did. And it just showed that negligence also has real consequences. I mean, this is the most extreme example of negligence, and they faced a lot of consequences. 2.9, and I mean, of course, it's lower, but it's still a lot of money. And so, key learnings I honestly took away here was that, of course, negligence really costed McDonald's all their money. Um, I mean, I'm sure even if she got the money she wanted in the first place, eventually they would have got caught with this. I mean, 700 is a ridiculous amount. It also showcased punitive expenses, which are, expenses caused to punish a company. Those can happen regardless of what the defendant even wants. Those can still hit you on top of that. So it's huge expenditures for companies. And it's also one of the cases that the media really misled this case. They thought it was a frivolous lawsuit, didn't think she deserved this, didn't think she was hurt, thought Miss Liebeck was just trying to get money. And that wasn't the case. And in my opinion, I drew this out, the last point here. I didn't really see it online much, but it really hit me that McDonald's only changed because of money. They only changed because they were sued. I mean, they didn't really care. I mean, 700 people prior and they never changed. That just shows that once they get hit with these fines, these taxes, these, you know, punitive damages and all these expenses, I mean, that's when they really change. Then they're like, oh crap, we can't be losing this much amount of money anymore. That was my take on McDonald's. They didn't really care. I mean, nowadays, who knows? They could be way different. I'm not sure. Back then, at least, they really only changed because of money. And these are my references here. You can click on the links to go to each one. I believe I have a total of five here. And then last but not least, this is the YouTube link to this presentation I just recorded for you all. And when I'm done, it will be hyperlinked. You could press it right there. And that is it for my presentation, though. Thank you, students and professor, for watching this. Appreciate it. And thank you. Have a great one.